What's up, guys? This is Rainlin with RRB. Don't let the name fool you. I'm not either one of the R's. I am the B. Alright, well, so today I'm going to go ahead and start us off with a new series. I'm going to go ahead and do 30-minute episodes of Sword of Damocles Warlords, a mod for Mount and Blade Warband. This will be called Conquest of Ponavosa, the region of Sword of Damocles Warlords. So basically how this is going to work, I've already gotten quite a bit into this game already. As you can see with my main character here, he has on day 599. We're just going to go ahead and get started here with a new character. I've already got quite a bit of experience, so I kind of know which way I want to go, but I'm just going to start with a different faction this time and, see what happens. Alright, so basically, as the name entitles, I want to conquest, or I want to conquer the whole region, but that would take a long time because I'm on day 600 already, and I haven't really conquered, half the region. So what we'll do is, I'm going to go ahead and set some parameters for it to make it a little more, watchable. So the rule will be, we're going to go ahead and conquer a region as large as most factions from Vanilla Warband. In other words, four cities, and then about, 8 to 12 castles. So that's what we're going to conquer. That much, or the equivalent. Like if I can take, 6 cities and then maybe 8 castles, something like that. And then we'll consider this series done. However, if you guys are still interested in watching more, don't worry, I'll keep going. I'm all about it. Alright, so if this decides to finish loading here, it does have a long load. I'm not really surprised. It's a big, big world. When we actually get into it, you'll see it, but a little backstory behind the whole region while we're still loading here. Ponavosa is a fan-created region that's supposed to be beyond Calradia. Calradia being the main region of the first game, and then over the Kurgat Hills there's supposed to be another area that's connected to Calradia. Basically the other half of the region just called something else. Supposedly, according to what this fan has created, Ponavosa is beyond that, across the sea and into this land. So, should be pretty fun. I've already played it quite a bit, as you've seen. I love the region. I'm a big fan of it. Basically, what they have done is included all 6 of the regular factions, the Swadians, the Kurgats, all them. And they also included 6 new factions, which are each a blend of 2 other nations' strategies and units. So I'll kind of show you what that means. I already know what faction I'm going to pick this time, a different faction from what I've usually picked, but anyway. So how I always run my game is, I'm a big role player when it comes to this. Even though it doesn't really help my skills, I kind of come from the background of, a thief, that kind of thing. So basically, my family lives in the idyllic Duchy of Villan. Very, very awesome place. Wait till you see this. It's really great. So we were strong believers of the old gods. And I was a street urchin. And of course, as a young adult, I became a game poacher because, you can't do anything in the cities as a thief, as a young adult. That doesn't make any sense at all. So as a thief, of course, we have a lust for money and power. Alright. And I always do the allow me to quit without saving, not because I want to, overwrite some cheaty thing, like, oh, I died and that sucks. No, it's because we have brownouts a lot where I live, and my power will just short out real quick and then come back. And it really stinks when you're playing and you get really far in the game and then you forgot to save and then that happens. So this is just in case, I need to save every once in a while I'm playing. Alright. So I like to usually put quite a bit of points into strength and agility, charisma usually being a supporting thing. I'm usually all about my character being my character. I like to be a badass, on the line, frontline warrior type guy, while everyone else is supporting me with their skills. Alright, so let's see what we got here. Gonna go on with some... leadership's always a nice skill to have. Power draw I already have almost maxed out. Power strike. And looting. Looting is a big one for me too, because in this mod, a lot of the characters are the bandits. The bandits usually come in sometimes small groups, sometimes really, really big groups that you just really can't take on unless you actually, have a huge army. So whenever you do take someone down, it's nice to have some looting so you can get some more better quality loot. Alright, so I usually, depending on what I do, I'll usually, take like my middle name and then make that as my my name, or I'll do like, Lucanus Holesta, which you may have saw as my last one when I'm playing as the Imperials. In this case, I don't know, something different. I'm Rainlin, so I'm gonna be Rainlin Hanoth. There we go. All right. Now, what is kind of nice about this mod, I will say, one thing I really am a big fan of, is it does start you off with a bunch of troops, but it is oddly deceiving, and I'll show you how deceiving it is here in just a moment. That's really all the effort we need to put into that. So, as you can see, I started over here with 50 men, and they're all Villainese noble soldier, Villainese soldiers, because that's the faction I chose. So that's my culture now too. But I start all the way over here in the Antarian Empire. Now, if we go over this way, you can see the world is pretty big. I mean, really, really big. So here's the Rhodoks at the far other side of the world. Now, if I go over this way, now there's the Kingdom of Aden. There I am. The Villainese Duchy all the way over there in green. So as you can see, I have quite a hike. We better get started because this is not going to be easy. Now I'm going to have a lot of troop morale problems while I have a lot of these soldiers, and usually I release a bunch of them, but right now I'm going to actually not. I'm going to not release them, and here's why. I want all the troops this time. I'm going to experiment with a new strategy. I'm going to try actually keeping all my guys with me and see what happens. So I'm going to put all my max level troops, my higher level guys, in the back because I don't want them on the front line as much. I want my younger, less experienced guys on the front. Nope. Alright, let's keep going. And I love this mod. I recommend you guys download this. Sword of Damocles Warlords. That's Damocles, D-A-M-O-C-L-E-S. Download it, you'll love it. I don't even know how many hours I put into this because when I moved, we actually had to reinstall my whole computer again and get everything started again. And I got a new computer while I was here, kind of. Like, I kind of kept the same frame and everything, but I got a new hard drive. So I lost all the original data I had on this, and I already played a lot before this. There was a character who was on day 1000 something, and I'd already conquered quite a bit of the region. 2 factions were eliminated. I eliminated the Antarians and the Imperials here. So, yeah, very good. Now that was before I discovered how great the Imperials are. These guys are really, really awesome. They're like a nice mix between Swadians and Rhodoks. They have really, really good cavalry, but they also have pretty decent infantry and crossbowmen, and all their guys are board shield type guys, except they're elite troops. And that's another thing that is in this mod. If you've ever played Warband mods before, you'll notice some games, like the native expansion, for example, when you get really loyal to a faction, when you really get in there, really suck up to the king, make good friends with him, marry his daughter or whatever, then they will offer you elite troops, very high-ranking guys with really ridiculous stats, very expensive to hire. Same thing here. Everybody has elite troops, and their elite troops for the Imperials wear bronze armor and have round shields. Very different, but the armor's better. The shield's just not as great. And that's the thing. No faction is supposed to be super overpowered in this. That's just kind of how it is. All right. So, surprisingly, I have not actually found any bandits yet. I mean, I passed a couple that were already being fought, but nothing on my own that I really can fight yet. This is another reason why I usually don't carry too many guys, because I don't want to get slowed down. But you know what? Screw it. Let's keep all the guys with us today. Now the Villainese, why I'm picking the faction this time, is because on my last game there with my 600, they saved my faction. So I established here in this castle called this city called Greycrest. This whole area right here is called the Vale of Greycrest. This whole region, and what I did is I decided to start with Greycrest, fortify it, and then expand all the other regions. And I was getting completely torn up by the Rhodoks. The Rhodoks and the Vaegirs over here allied against me, and I had no allies, and they just kept taking all my stuff. So I couldn't go to the Rhodoks for troops. The Kingdom of Aden is practically gone. I can't really recruit their troops. Can't recruit from the Vaegirs. They hate me. All this Swadian land is gone. Doesn't really belong to them anymore. Can't recruit from the Vaegirs. That's all Vaegir or Swadian land, or Vaegir or Rhodok land now. So there's only one place close to me that I can go. These guys. And I go there all the time to recruit extra troops to keep myself in tip-top shape. And man, oh man, is it like really required. Oh, look at this. I mean, it's a small battle, but I'll join it. Alright, moving to help the manhunters. Let's do it. Alright. Man, these manhunters have got some big units here. They have actually some slave troopers, or some slaver chiefs. It's a slave hunter, yeah. Yeah, that's another thing too, as you can see, that one's called a native slave hunter. This guy actually has his own interpretation of what he thinks that the manhunter should be. Oh, crap, that hurt. And he decided to make that interpretation a reality, where instead he kept the native troops with their same equipment and same statistics, their same skills, but he changed up a little bit. Changed up some of their equipment and the way they function. Sorry about that. It's kind of hard to get involved with these fights, especially when I'm still such a youngin'. Oh my god, I have throwing knives. I was trying to get my bow. And that's another thing you can do too in this mod that I love. You can just let the enemies surrender when you kill a bunch of them, and then you just kind of get some of them for free. Your dude cheers the rest of the guys. I love it. And of course, I suffered no casualties because all my guys are badass and we outnumber them extremely heavily. Oh, here's another thing too. The Villainese, like some factions, have just pretty much cavalry, or pretty much just infantry, I'm sorry, is their big thing. They specialize in pretty much just infantry or just this or just that. And these guys in particular specialize mainly in their archers and their infantry. But every faction that does not get horses, like, you know, the Rhodoks, if you played them before, or the Nords, they get a unit now called a Scout, which is a really crappy cavalry. And sometimes that Scout promotes, but it depends. There's a crossroads here. Your Scout can come equipped with a bow and a sword and shield, and then he doesn't get promoted, like the Villainese Scout. Or he can be like the Antarian Scout, actually. Good point here. Antarians don't have cavalry either, so, or they don't, you know, have real cavalry. Their Scout actually gets promoted to a unit called Cavalry. Now, he has no other weapon but his sword and shield, but the Scout does get javelins sometimes. So it's real interesting to kind of mix the groups up, so you can have some skirmishers on horseback with cavalry, or with javelins. Just intentionally don't promote them for that reason. I don't believe in that policy. A lot of people do. Not my thing, but hey man, you be you, I be me. Alright. So basically, how I usually play this game is I don't like doing the quests from these people very often. It's not a big thing for me. I'm not always a big fan of it. But I'll tell you what, sometimes you just gotta do what you gotta do. Alright, no useful mercenaries here I'm interested in, so we're just gonna go and sell all this other stuff. I'm actually not a big fan of any weapon other than polearms. However, as you can see, we're having a bit of a problem here finding some polearms, so I may not be able to do that. Oh, the longbow. I'm not really a big fan of the longbow either. I usually like the hunting bow just because it's faster. You see that speed rating there on the bottom? 100 versus the longbow speed rating of 79. That's a pretty big difference in that even though it's not twice the number, I can fire 2 arrows with the hunting bow almost as fast as it takes for the longbow to fire 1. I mean, it's about 1.5 arrows for the longbow and about 2 for the hunting bow in that same period. Big difference if you ask me, but that's just me. Everyone's going to have their own opinion on it, but anyway. So we're going to go and sell some of this junk here. Not a big fan of this crap. Yeah, get rid of that nonsense. And the horse merchant. Oh, that's a neat thing too. For those of you that haven't played, even though this is a horse merchant, I can sell this shield here because, well, it is what it is, man. You can sell whatever you want, wherever you want, as long as the dude has enough money. Ah, so he has enough money for my furs, so I'll sell him my furs. Ah, see now there is a polearm, but it's very expensive and I can't use it. So what I'm looking for is like a cheap polearm, like that. That I can use. Speed rating's not too bad for a polearm, and it's fairly powerful. So I'll take that. Now, as you can see, we only have 50 dried meat left, so we're gonna go and get some food. Gotta keep these boys fed. There we go. Just get a nice bunch of stuff. Make sure they don't get any scurvy. That's no good. Please note you do not get scurvy in this game. That's just a bad joke on my part, and I apologize. Alright. So moving on. basically this is what I do. You know, I just kind of zip from here to there, looking for some guys to kill. It's very, very hard to actually get involved with any faction, but particularly the Kingdom of Aden and the Villainese Duchy have a problem trusting outsiders. Supposedly, he wanted the guy who created this mod wanted to have the factions who have their certain ideals to actually adhere to those ideals, not it just be, something to say about the faction. Like, the Kingdom of Nords are a bunch of savages, really. They're sea raiders that got together, elected a king, and now they're a faction. They're still savages. They really have no honor. They raid, pillage, and kill everyone and everything that's weaker than them. But the Villainese Duchy and the Kingdom of Aden are proud old nations that have been on this continent for a long time. So they have a problem recruiting outsiders. In this case, me especially being an outsider, the background story for my character being I'm not from Ponavosa. Not my personal background, just that's how the game works. I just kind of was plopped here, boom, I'm not really from Ponavosa. So, makes things a little difficult sometimes. But it is what it is, man. See, now here's a fight, and then they're running from me. Come on, don't run from me. Oh, those deserters, though, look like I could catch them. If I can get him to pop up for me again. Where did he go? See, this is no fun. Now we're playing Pop Goes the Weasel trying to find something to kill. And here we go. Let's check party morale, see how we're doing. Yeah, above average. I'm not really surprised. I do have too many people, I think. If I don't get into a battle soon, we're going to have some morale problems. Which is another funny thing I feel I should mention. In this game, like, unlike with real human beings who don't really want to fight, they don't want to just get plunged into battle constantly. The opposite is true here. If you plunge your soldiers into battle repeatedly and win and suffer few casualties, your morale will actually skyrocket as your people worship you as the great commander that you are. Oh, look at this. He's following me. Serenade Archer. Oh, okay. So, Serenade Archers are tier 4 archers of the Serenade faction who have really, really good archers, actually. So, this may actually be a somewhat difficult battle. But I'm going to show these guys how we do it in the Duchy. So, as you can see, it doesn't take a whole lot to really kind of think about how this game really works. It's like Total War, but you're on the front line commanding these troops. So, usually I like a hill to do this, but let's be honest here. I have archers, right? They're going to be archers. So if I pop some infantry here and order them to stand closer with all those board shields to catch more arrows. Now watch this. Order everyone to hold fire and wait for the enemy to get close. Then fire. Rain hell. Better archers. They actually are better archers than the Villainese. The Villainese have longbowmen, which are very, very slow. But look at what's going on now. We're actually not doing too bad. And then you just order the infantry to charge once the enemy gets close. And now I don't like fighting on horseback, but in the very beginning, being as weak as I am, there's really not a whole lot else I can do to avoid, being killed. We're suffering some casualties. It's a bit of a shame, but... Uh-oh. Oh. They're starting to run, and they come back. Make up your mind, cowards. Stand and fight or die. And remember, these men followed me into battle thinking they were going to win. You have to trick the AI, trick them with your strategy. Just have less men than they do so you get more renown when you win the battle. And more morale, by the way. If you actually have fewer men than the enemy does and slaughter them like I did here, 4 killed, 3 wounded, 39 killed on the enemy side, the morale boost is huge. So, that's important too. Now, we lost some guys, but that's okay. We're going to recover a few, because he's got some of these Villainese men that I want too. None of them are max tier, but, we got some good men here. We also have these farmers, which are real cool, but I like the cutthroats. Big fun thing about these cutthroats, looter's the same thing, who cares? So the big thing about these cutthroats that I like is they become something called a reaver or a thug. Now, fun thing about the reavers and thugs are they're max tier, just basically looters, but farmers can also go down that tier as well. They can go down that path. And when they do, they become somewhat dangerous, actually. Reavers and Thugs are one of the only, or one of the few, I should say, uh, units in this whole game that have firearms. There aren't a whole lot of factions that do. If I'm correct, the Zerrikanian Sultanate, these guys over here, they have guns. These blue guys. They have guns. Nobody else does, but some mercenaries do have guns. There's some men called the Musketi Men. They have firearms. They have muskets. Reavers and Thugs have guns. And I believe that's actually it. I haven't actually encountered a whole lot of mercenaries because I don't really use mercenaries very often. They are, after all, 1.5 times the cost in troop maintenance as a troop of the same quality that comes from a nation. Very big deal. There's just always advantages and disadvantages to everything, you know. I mean, these mercenaries, for example, like, there's a big example. Here we go. Look at this guy right here. Conquistador Footman. 7 of them cost $640, and these men are only like tier 2, I believe, meaning they have 3 more levels to go before they max out. And that weapon they have there, that little rapier, that's a stabbing only weapon. So they're very crappy. Since I'm sure many of you have already played Mount and Blade Warband before, you know what happens when you stab at point blank range. But anyway, so this is Borcha. He's one of my favorite guys. I love this dude. I really do. He's one of my oh, crap. I have too many people. Well, bye, looter. Gotta make room for my man Borcha. He's my hero. This guy was the first companion I ever got when I actually played Mount and Blade Warband Vanilla. And so I guess it's just because of that, I've always held a certain special no homo love for this guy. He's awesome. He actually has no real melee skills. He's a very light, agility-based guy for tracking and things like that. But I never really understood how to actually take advantage of people's base stats. Or at least back then I really didn't. So I just kind of said, screw it, man. I want this guy to be a heavy hitter. So he always ends up being sword with board shield and a heavy two-handed axe. Always. He's always my hero. Always my heavy hitter. On my day 600, or 599 character I have going on as well, that guy is already right now level 38, I believe, or 39. And he has maxed out his strength. He is absolutely brutal. The guy's very, very scary. He kicks a lot of butt, man. Alright, we got some more deserters here. Now, the big thing to also take advantage of, too, when you're chasing guys, is to remember that even if they're faster than you, you can always trick them to do something like run into some water that they can't cross, and then they're going to do a full double back. Like, see that right there? He was going this way, and then for some reason he doubled back and went this way. Now the distance between us is closed somewhat. So even though he is faster, he's doubling back, he's running from that lord now. So if I chase him long enough, he's going to do something dumb. And if I'm real careful, there he goes. That's it. Got the forest bandits on the other side. Well, now we got these guys. Now they're only desert bandits. They're very, very weak. Ah! Gonna hold my thought there for a moment. There is a concept in this game called dueling. I love it. It's a lot like dueling back in, ancient Greece, like when you saw Troy, if you've ever seen that movie. That was a real thing they did, where two armies, who are both very, very large, and it's unclear who will win, will send a champion forth to fight and save a lot of people from dying. The problem is, the guy who created this mod knows that it would be very abusable if the enemy actually challenges you to a duel, which only they can. You cannot challenge them to a duel. So, yeah. They didn't really make it a real duel. I mean, the whole army isn't going to surrender just because I kill this guy. But I'll tell you what will happen. I will save a lot of my men from dying. Oh, he's very fast. There you go. So one enemy troop surrendered, and I got a bunch of experience. And then my guy, of course, makes a statement about how obvious life is. Now, a couple of these guys are going to be lancers. You may actually see a few of them doing it. They'll have their spears down. That guy right there. That guy will do a lot of damage if he hits me. Right there. Yep, he just knocked out Borcha. Alright, that's alright. They're just bandits. Come on, let's take them down. In the name of the Duchy. Dodge! There you go. Point blank, arrow in the butt. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm all about. Now the 8 Forest Bandits also joined on their side, so a couple of these guys to kill. Oh man, it stinks being this weak again. On my main character, I have enough strength that I can actually swing a weapon and kill basically anyone. I mean, I'm good with all weapons at this point. I participated in a bunch of tournaments and gotten experience points with one-handed and two-handed weapons as well, which I usually don't use. So much so that it's gotten pretty good. But anyway, gotta practice with this bow too, gotta get good with the bow again. Very hard to get good with the bow. There is a training field you can use, but I usually just, when I fight something weak like looters that only throw rocks, they don't do much damage to me, you know, wearing a full set of blue chainmail here. And when that's the case, then I'll usually just, yeah, go forward, fight them all by myself, kill like 30, 40 dudes, and just kind of shoot a bunch of them like this, you know, just arrow, 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 right in the head. Because they all, as you can see, even my own troops are doing it. See how they're running in a straight line, regardless? I mean, the enemy's not going to fight them now, but I'm sure you also may have noticed it when we were fighting earlier when the battle first began. And that's really just what they do. That's just life, but it is what it is. Alright. And as you can see, I got enough renown that I can now carry an extra troop when I could previously only carry 57. Nobody died in that battle, but now I can carry an extra guy. So I can pick from the group here. I mean, I'll probably take the infantry. The infantry's kind of nice. It's always important to have a lot more infantry, even in a faction where archery is your faction's strength. Carrying a lot more infantry is always more valuable, just because archers are always weaker. They cannot hold their own in melee combat with really much of anybody. I mean, honestly, these archers may be able to hold their own in a fight with another ranged base faction, like for example the Kingdom of Aegirs. These guys are based on the you know, like the Muscovite Tsardom, the Eastern people, Poland, that kind of thing. They, on the other hand, may be able to fight. Their cavalry is really good, their archers are outstanding, but their infantry are garbage because half of them carry shields, half of them don't. Some of them have spears, some of them have two-handed bardishes, which are kind of like an axe type thing, and it just makes things so much more difficult, man. It's hard to build a strategy with them. Whereas with my Villainese soldiers, I know my sharpshooter's always going to have a bow and a sword. With my elite infantry, I always know he's going to have a nomad saber and a board shield, and I know what to do with those particular weapons in the hands of those soldiers. But anyway, so that was the start to this. I know it was probably pretty boring, just a big explanation thing. I was just kind of getting everybody set up with, you know, who I am, what we're going to be doing, that kind of thing. But anyway, that's that. And I'm going to go ahead and run a couple more of these down the road and see how it goes. But next few times, you're going to get more into my personality and how I am when I play video games. You'll notice I'm pretty psycho. But for now, this is what we got going. All right. See you guys. Bye.